She was seated on the couch holding her laptop, but she wasn't working. She was staring at the screen, absolutely unfocused. "Hey, I'm home," I murmured, hoping to relieve the tension. "You're early," she said, as if it were a negative thing. I shrugged it off and went into the kitchen to begin preparing dinner, but the silence in the house was oppressive. Usually she'd ask how my day was or tell me about her own. But tonight, nothing. Finally, I looked around and asked, "Is everything okay?" Logically, she shut her laptop and glanced at me. "Actually, there's something I need to talk to you about." Component placement, and my stomach sank. You know that feeling when you just know something horrible is going to happen but you can't stop it? That was me, standing there like an idiot with a spatula in one hand. I approached and sat across from her. "All right," I said. "What is going on?" "Zrania." She paused, as if she were trying to find the proper words. Then she just came out with it. "I've been thinking about us, and about Jake." Logically, I almost laughed. "Jake? Are you serious? What about him?" "Swing." She bit her lip and avoided my gaze. "I suppose I need some time to consider things through. I'd like to take a break and see whether there's still something there with him." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You want to take a break and date your ex? Are you out of your mind, Emily? We're engaged." "Зрение. Это не так», — она ответила торопливо, как будто она могла разрядить ситуацию. "I just want to know if I'm making the right choice with you. And if it doesn't work out, I promise to come back." That was when I realized how deep her chutzpah ran. She assumed I would sit around and wait for her to decide whether I was good enough. Something inside me shifted at that very instant. I did not yell. I did not blow up. I just sat there, staring at her, wondering how the hell I hadn't seen this coming. I wasn't sure how to answer at first. My fiancé had just informed me that she wanted to take a break, to explore things with her ex, Jake. What can you even say to that? Finally, I asked, "So what does this break mean to you?" My voice came out much calmer than I felt. Emily straightened up slightly as if she had been preparing for this conversation. "I believe we need some space to figure things out. I'll take some time to see if my feelings for Jake are genuine, and you are welcome to ponder on us as well." Swing. I couldn't believe the audacity. "Wait," I replied, leaning forward. "You're saying you need to date your ex, but I need to reflect on us? What kind of backwards logic is that?" "Logically," she sighed, as if I were the one being unreasonable. "It's not about you doing something wrong, Ryan. This is about me figuring out what I need." Zrenia. She seemed to have rehearsed this. The way she spoke, the way she avoided eye contact. It was as if she had already decided this was going to happen and simply wanted me to accept it. "You know this sounds insane, right?" I muttered. "You don't just put your fiancé on hold while you go play What If with some guy who treated you like garbage." Her face tightened, and for the first time I realized how stubborn she could be. "I'm telling you what I need." That one landed differently. I wasn't just sad anymore. I was angry. I stood up and began pacing, hoping to calm myself down. "So what, Emily? You're just going to pack a bag and head over to Jake's place? Is that your big plan?" "Zrania, no," she insisted. "It's not like that. I don't know what it looks like yet. But I need clarity before we move forward. I owe it to myself to know I'm making the right decision." "Swing, you owe it to yourself?" I asked, laughing cruelly. "And what about what you owe me?" "We're engaged, Emily. We're supposed to be building a life together, and now you're telling me you need to test drive your ex to make sure I'm good enough?" "Zrania, I never said you weren't good enough," she replied, her voice rising. "But if we're going to spend the rest of our lives together, I have to be certain. And right now, I'm not." Zrania. That was it. She wasn't just interested in exploring things with Jake. She was unsure about me. Even after 4 years together. Even after all of our plans, she was still unsure. It struck me all at once. She hadn't even realized how painful and stupid her plea was. She believed this was reasonable, that I'd just sit there while she figured out whatever foolishness was going through her head. I stopped pacing and glanced at her, really stared at her. You know what? Sure, I responded, my tone bland. Take your break. Logically? She blinked, surprised by how quickly I agreed. Ryan, I'm not trying to hurt you, I need space to figure things out. I nodded, keeping my expression blank. All right, if that's what you need. Zrania. She paused, as if expecting me to argue or fight for her. When I didn't, she stood up, took out her laptop, and murmured, I'll stay at my mom's for a bit. This isn't forever. We'll talk when I've had some time, okay? Swing, I replied simply. She looked at me, wondering how to answer, and then disappeared into the bedroom. I could hear her moving around, engagement to my fiancé after she wanted a break to explore her ex. I sold our house and disappeared. Hello, everyone. After what feels like an eternity, I, 27 million, decided it was time to discuss what has been going on with me recently. Here's the thing. Until lately, I thought I was marrying the love of my life, Emily, 26F. We'd been together for 4 years, and for the most part, I thought we were solid. But now, I'm sitting here wondering why I didn't see this coming sooner. Emily and I met at a birthday celebration, introduced by a mutual friend. She was humorous, confident, and had a no-nonsense approach that I enjoyed. I dated previously, but no one connected with me as she did. We hit it off quickly and moved in together after a year. Things felt natural, as if we were all on the same page about professions, marriage, and eventually creating a family. She was a freelance graphic designer, and I worked as a project manager for a technology business, so our schedules were very similar. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was enjoyable. We had been discussing getting married for a time, but it wasn't until last year that I proposed. Nothing fancy, just a simple supper at home for the two of us. Emily seemed thrilled. She cried, hugged me, and agreed. That night, we began to envision our future, a fall wedding, a limited guest list, and this charming little site by the lake. It seemed like everything was falling into place, or so I thought. The initial red flags were little and evident. They were little sneaky flaws that I ignored because I didn't want to overthink. For example, Emily's enthusiasm for wedding preparation faded after a few months. She was all in at first, sending me Pinterest boards, searching through wedding outfits, and asking about small details like whether I preferred tulips or roses for the centerpieces. But suddenly, it simply stopped. I'd ask her questions like, Hey, have you chosen your bridesmaids yet? And she'd shrug it aside. Not yet. I'm still thinking about it, she said again. The same thing happened with her clothing, cake, and music. Every decision we'd been so enthused about had become something she wanted to postpone. There's still time, she'd say. The wedding seemed like an afterthought. At the time, I told myself it was just stress. Wedding planning can be overwhelming, right? Plus, Emily had a lot going on at work. I assumed she'd snap out of it eventually. What I didn't realize was that her lack of enthusiasm wasn't about the wedding, but about us. The true slap in the face happened one night while we were out with some friends. Someone brought up the dumb TikTok game, which you've probably seen. It's the one where you have to answer personal questions while keeping a straight face and not passing judgment. Everything was going well until someone said, If you could relive one relationship, which would it be? Logically, Emily responded, Oh, probably Jake. Zrania. Just like that. Jake, her college ex, the person who cheated on her. The moment she uttered that, the room became awkwardly quiet. She giggled awkwardly and attempted to backtrack, saying, I mean, not that I'd want to, it's just a significant element of my past. I wanted to confront her right there, but we were among friends, so I let it go. Later, when we were alone, I asked her about it. What was it about Jake? Why would you choose to revisit that relationship? She simply shrugged it off as if it were no big thing. It was a stupid game, Ryan. Don't take it so seriously. She grinned and shifted the subject. I didn't press it because honestly I didn't want to start a battle over something that could have been minor. But deep down it stayed with me. Following that, her behavior became more difficult to ignore. She was using her phone more frequently, going through her texts with a cheeky little smile. She began creating vague explanations for why she couldn't hang out or why she would cancel plans at the last minute. "Oh, sorry, I just have a lot of work to catch up on tonight," she'd typically remark. Or, "I promised my mom I'd visit this weekend." Component placement. The justifications were not particularly suspicious, but they were stacking up. It seemed like I had become less of a priority. Then came Friday night, which changed everything. I arrived home from work early, excited to spend the evening with Emily. I was hoping we might order in and binge watch something, a quiet night. But when I came in, the atmosphere seemed odd. If she really wants a break, that's fine. Let her have it. Several minutes later, I heard the front door close. She was gone, perhaps believing she had left me here to wait and worry. She had no idea I was not going to sit around and do nothing. She could have her fantasy, but I had other ideas now. I'll provide an update once I've set some things in motion. This is not going to end the way she expects it to. Update 1. Thank you for your feedback and suggestions on my last post. A lot has happened this week, and I'd like to report how things are going. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone in this community for their wonderful support. Many of you mentioned that I shouldn't just sit around waiting, and you were absolutely right. I've been busy putting everything into motion. First, I called my pal Mark. He's been my best friend since college, and he's not the type of guy to sugarcoat things. After hearing the full story, he brought over pizza, and we spent the entire night scheming. "Dude, you realize she's going to try to crawl back once things don't work out with Jake, right?" Mark reminded me. He was right, of course. The more we talked, the more obvious it became that I needed to be proactive. This wasn't about vengeance. It was about regaining control of my life. I began with the house. Emily doesn't seem to recall that it's entirely in my name. She loves to act as if it's our home, always talking about the curtains and paint colors she chose. Yet, I'm the one who pays the mortgage. I called a realtor first thing Monday morning. The realtor came by to see the property, and we decided to list it right away. The market in our neighborhood is hot right now, and we already have several potential buyers. Emily has no idea. She probably believes I'm sitting here in our shared home waiting for her to sort out her feelings. The next step was to gradually remove her from my life. You remember the Live, Laugh, Love placards she insisted on putting up? Gone. The beautiful throw pillows she had to have? Donated. Her clothing and personal belongings that she left behind? I carefully packed them all up. But this is where I became strategic. Instead of just dropping her belongings off at her mother's house or having her come fetch them, I hired a moving company. They took everything to her mother's house and left a short note. "Here's your stuff. Good luck with Jake. Zrania." I know some of you might think this is petty, but I disagree. I'm not being vengeful. I'm being efficient. She wanted space to think things through? Well, now she's got it. Literally. The most fascinating moment came when mutual friends started asking questions. Instead of playing the victim or slandering her, I simply stated the truth. Emily decided she needed to explore things with her ex before committing to marriage. I decided I deserve better than being someone's backup plan. Зрение, вы должны увидеть, как люди реагируют на это. No drama, no accusations, just facts. It's amazing how quickly the story changes when you don't try to control it. I've also been making moves at work. I applied for a position at our West Coast office that I'd been considering for a long time. If the house sells, which seems very likely, and I get this job, I'll be starting over on the other side of the country. Emily has tried to contact me several times this week. At first, it was lighthearted texts like, "Hope you're doing okay." Then, as she realized I was actually making real changes rather than just waiting around, her messages became more and more concerned. Yesterday, she panicked when her mother informed her that the boxes had been delivered. "What are you doing? Why are you acting like this is over?" I kept my response simple because it is over, Emily. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. Swing. She started crying, saying she just wanted time to figure things out, that I was being too quick, that this wasn't what she meant when she asked for a break. "What did you expect?" I asked her. "That I'd sit here like a faithful puppy while you test drove your ex? That's not how this works. Swing. But what if I realize you're the one I want? She was weeping now. Then you'll have learned a valuable lesson about not taking people for granted, I said before hanging up the phone. The weird thing is, I'm no longer upset. Instead, I feel liberated. Every box I pack, every move I make, feels like I'm reclaiming parts of myself that I didn't realize I had given up. Mark came by again yesterday to help me pack up the house. He noticed the change in me too. You seem different, he observed. More focused. Zrenia, I am different. When Emily first revealed her desire to pursue things with Jake, I felt like my world was falling apart. Now I see it wasn't my world collapsing, it was the false reality I'd been living in finally disintegrating. Sometimes the best way to respond to someone treating you as an option is to completely remove yourself from their list of options. Stay tuned. This story isn't over yet. And I have a feeling Emily is starting to realize that her break to figure things out isn't going quite as planned. Update 2. I appreciate all the feedback on my last update. Things have escalated significantly, and I'd like to share how the situation has evolved. Remember how I mentioned applying for the West Coast position? Well, I got it. The timing couldn't be better. The house is under contract, and the closing is set for next month. But that's just the beginning. What's particularly interesting is how Emily's little exploration with Jake is unfolding. Through mutual connections, I found out that their rekindled passion isn't exactly the fairy tale she envisioned. Apparently, 4 years haven't changed Jake much. He's still the same untrustworthy guy who cheated on her in college. But here's where it gets good. Emily has been trying to control the narrative on social media. She's been posting vague, inspiring quotes about finding yourself and following your heart. So I decided to play the same game, but with a twist. I made a single factual post. Excited to announce I've accepted a position in San Francisco. Sometimes when one door closes, better ones open. Looking forward to this new chapter. Zrenia, the comments and messages came flooding in. People congratulated me, asked about the move, and, of course, wondered about Emily. I kept my answers simple and honest. We're no longer together. She wanted to explore other options, so I'm exploring mine too. Logically, that one sentence set off a fantastic chain reaction in our social circle. Logically, remember those mutual friends who weren't sure about the situation? Watching me handle it with grace, while Emily flooded her feed with cryptic relationship quotes, completely shifted the atmosphere. Then came the professional consequences. Emily's freelance design work relies heavily on referrals and networking. Sarah, 29F, a mutual contact in the tech industry who used to send clients Emily's way, reached out to me. I need to know what really happened, Sarah said over coffee. Emily's telling people you're just taking a temporary break to grow individually, but something feels off. Component placement. So I told her the truth. I showed her Emily's actual message about wanting to date Jake. Sarah's expression said it all. She didn't believe Emily's version. By the end of the week, multiple potential clients had postponed their projects with Emily, not because I said anything nasty, but because, honestly, who wants to work with someone who treats commitment so lightly? Emily felt the shift. Her texts became more frequent and more frantic. Why are you telling people about Jake? You're ruining my reputation. This isn't fair. I just needed time to think. Swing, I responded simply. You got what you wanted, time and space. How I spend mine is no longer your concern. Component placement. Then came the turning point. Jake, in his infinite wisdom, posted a photo of the two of them at our first date restaurant. It was obvious. She was trying to recreate our history with him. It was both sad and funny. The post didn't stay up long, but the damage was done. Our friends saw it. And the remaining few people who supported Emily's Finding Myself story, yeah, they lost respect for her. Even her own sister reached out to me. I'm so sorry about how she's handling this. You deserve better. Swing. But the most satisfying part, I didn't have to be vengeful. I just lived my life, freely and honestly. Meanwhile, Emily tried to play both sides. But the truth has a way of coming out. She showed up at my office yesterday. Looks like Jake has already revealed his true colors, flirting with other women, being untrustworthy. The same old story. She was crying. I made a huge mistake, she sobbed. I was scared of commitment. I thought I needed to know if there was something better out there. But I was wrong. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. Zerania, I just looked at her. Calmly. No, Emily. The best thing that ever happened to me was you showing your true colors before we got married. Component placement. She tried to argue. She said we could fix this, that she'd go to counseling, that she'd prove she could be trusted again. I shook my head. You don't get it, do you? This isn't about Jake anymore. This is about you thinking you could keep me as a backup while you explored your options. That's not love, that's convenience. Swing. She left my office distraught. But me? I felt better than ever. The house closes next week. Most of my things are packed. And in a month, my new life in San Francisco begins. Some people think I'm being too harsh. Everyone makes mistakes, they say, but this wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. Every time she planned to put our relationship on hold, those weren't mistakes. They were deliberate choices. I'll update once the move is complete. For now, I'll leave you with this. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's getting better. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Final update. Thank you all for following my journey. This will be my last update, and trust me, I have some interesting developments to share. San Francisco is everything I imagined. My new apartment has a stunning view of the bay, the tech scene here, thriving, and my new team, fantastic. It's refreshing to be around people who prioritize growth and innovation over drama. But first, let's wrap up what happened back home. The house sale went smoothly. In fact, it sold for more than the asking price. Emily didn't believe it at first, until she drove by and saw the new owners moving in. And here's where it gets really good. Remember Jake? Yeah, he reached out to me. Of all people. He sent me a long message about how he never meant to cause problems, and how Emily was the one who had contacted him first, months before she asked for a break. That's right. Emily had been planning this little exploration for a long time. She had been messaging Jake for months, carefully laying the groundwork for her backup plan. The irony? Jake ended things with her, because, in his words, if she could do this to you, she could do it to anyone. And Emily's professional downfall? Yeah, that escalated too. Most of the clients she had lined up, they found other designers. Not because I said anything, but because word spreads. One of her biggest clients even reached out to me. We heard what happened with the engagement, they told me. We're looking for someone who can commit to long-term projects. Logically, do you know any reliable designers? Zerania, I did. So, I recommended a talented acquaintance of mine. She got the contract, karma, I suppose. Emily's social media meltdown has been something to see sorrowful quotes about losing your soulmate. Then, the angry posts about toxic people who can't handle growth. And finally, urgent attempts to show the world how delighted she was. The last one? Particularly interesting. She posted about starting her own design firm. 3 days later, she was sending out job applications. Last week, her sister contacted me again. Apparently, Emily's been staying with their parents, said she needs time to heal from our breakup. Her sister's exact words, "She really thought you'd wait for her. When you sold the house and moved, it broke her fantasy completely." Log the most satisfying moment? A video call with our old friend group. They were catching me up on local gossip when someone mentioned seeing Emily at a coffee shop, explaining to a potential client why her portfolio website was down. Apparently, she forgot that I was the one who built and maintained it. When her hosting expired, she couldn't figure out how to restore it. Not my problem anymore. My new life is coming together perfectly. I've joined a local rock climbing club, started Spanish lessons, and even adopted a dog from a local shelter. His name is Zeus. And honestly, he's a better companion than my ex-fiancé ever was. The tech community here is incredibly welcoming. Last week, I was invited to speak at a developer conference. something that never would have happened if I had stayed back home. It's incredible what you can achieve when you're not dragging dead weight. I had one last interaction with Emily. She sent me an email. She wanted old photos from our shared cloud storage. Thing is, I had already downloaded what I wanted and deleted the account weeks ago. Her email read, "I know you're trying to erase me from your life, but you can't just delete our memories. Those 4 years meant something." Zrania. My reply was simple. You're right. Those years taught me exactly what I don't want in a partner. Thanks for the lesson. Component placement. Some mutual acquaintances think I'm being too harsh, that I should be more understanding of her moment of confusion. But that wasn't a moment. It was a calculated decision to keep me as a safety net while she pursued what she thought was a better option. The most important thing I've learned? Sometimes the worst things that happen to you lead to the best possible outcomes. If Emily hadn't shown her true colors when she did, I might have married her, only to learn her real personality years later, possibly with kids in the mix. Instead, I'm in a beautiful city, with an amazing job, making new friends and feeling excited about the future. The pain of betrayal has been replaced by gratitude for the bullet dodged. To everyone who followed this journey and offered advice, thank you. Your support helped me stay strong. Someone shows you who they are, believe them. The first time, don't wait around for them to change their mind about you. Life is too short to be someone's backup plan. Sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away and make things better for yourself. That's it for now, guys. This chapter of my life is officially closed, and I couldn't be more excited for the next one. Take care, and thank you for everything.